Well, here we have a question from Mr. Luis Emilio from Peru. He says, Islam alaikum Sheikh, and about tolerance in family matters. While it is true that tolerance is bitter, its fruits are sweet. What is the limit of tolerance specifically in a very conflictual marital relationship? Is there or should there be a limit to tolerance? In the name of tolerance, should all kinds of mistreatment be endured? Both are very good questions. Let's see. We have certainly said that what is spoken about justice is not for the home. Justice is for politicians in the street. When you are dealing with a public matter, that is where justice is discussed. I seek justice in matters of politics, national issues of a country, and social matters. That is where being oppressed is not allowed. One must raise their voice against the oppressors. This speaks of justice. But when we are among siblings, among friends, among family, for example, in the life of a couple, it is not about justice. It is about tolerance, being kind, and being affectionate. It means being helpful, making sacrifices for the good of another. If one is an oppressor, treat them with much kindness and set the right example. So, this was the Islamic teaching. Then, a deep affection, total mercy, complete clemency among brothers, forgiving all faults. Then the brother asks us the question, to what extent should we forgive him? For example, my wife, insults me, hits me, steals from me, betrays me, I don't know, hits the children. To what extent can I tolerate it? Let me see. Maybe I need to explain it better. What does tolerance mean? Let's see. We have two types of tolerance: passive tolerance and active tolerance. When talking about tolerance in Islam, what kind of tolerance is being referred to? Passive tolerance, active tolerance. What are these, Sheikh? We have never heard of passive tolerance or active tolerance, so listen carefully. Passive tolerance means when I see bad behavior from my son, my wife, my brother, or my friend, I will overlook it. It doesn't matter. I will neglect it. I will not consider that mistake. I will not reproach them. I am not going to shout. I am not going to seek justice in this. I am going to forgive you. Done. I'm not even going to talk about it. It means I do my best to forget it. This is called passive tolerance. That means I am not going to reply or respond in the same manner. That tolerance has a serious problem. What is it? It's that, how far can I endure a person like that? Maybe that person never understands that they are doing something wrong, and they repeat it. And it may get worse. Today he insults me, tomorrow he hits me, and he has always seen that I let it go. It doesn't matter. And it always comes to mistreat me worse and worse. It gets worse, because there will be no consequences, so it will get worse. That tolerance will lead me to my annihilation. For example, I have an employee. Today he arrives late. I say tolerance, tomorrow he arrives late. With tolerance, the day after, and every consecutive day, this will repeat, and it will make my life impossible. That employee never arrives. So, where is the command to do good and prevent evil? Where is the correction of others? Where is the help for others? That person has an inner conflict. They have a problem. For example, let's suppose that a person has a partner with a bad tongue. So today, he insults you in private, tomorrow he insults you in public. And always tolerance, passive tolerance, which will not yield good results. He will make your life impossible. Therefore, the tolerance we are talking about is not passive tolerance. So, what is that tolerance? Active tolerance. What is active tolerance? Listen carefully. It is a concept that many times you may not have heard. I believe that they have never explained this in the mosques. They always talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness. But what kind of forgiveness? To forgive someone who has sinned in a passive or active way, listen to it carefully. Once I forgive someone for a mistake and I do not have a plan to correct it. Listen carefully. He forgave his mistake and I do not have a plan to correct it or to help him overcome that flaw. We call that passive tolerance, which is useless. This type of tolerance is generally a kind of tolerance that is useless. And we are going to call it irresponsible tolerance. That is not right. A father who sees his son smoking today, smokes tomorrow, and calls it tolerance. That is not tolerance. That is called irresponsibility, brothers. Many people, when they talk about tolerance, are talking about that. It is called irresponsibility. Irresponsibility will bring you many consequences. Today, for example, your wife is chatting with a stranger, and she says, tolerance, she is my wife. Tomorrow he is watching videos of such, and he says, it's my wife. She likes this. Tolerance. And the day after tomorrow, you will see that you are dating a bald guy. And after a week, you will find that there is another man in bed. And to what extent do we say tolerance? That is madness. No, dear brother, that is called irresponsibility. What does tolerance mean? Tolerance means emotional intelligence. We control our negative emotions because we have a plan to correct our partner. We have a plan to correct our friend. We have a plan to correct our employee. That's why we say, now you have to contain your anger. Now you have to forgive him, to say, dear heaven, I forgive you. But later, when you're going to calm down the anger, the rage, then you have to think, how can you help your partner, your friend, your brother, your student understand? Making him understand that what he has done is not right and that he should not repeat it. So we indeed have a very extremely important plan called ordering good and preventing evil. It will have its meaning when you have tolerance and forgiveness, because you do not want to seek revenge now. You do not want to take revenge because you have forgiven. But you love. You love your student, you love your colleague, you love your family member, you love your partner. Because you love him, you love your neighbor, you help him out of this hole. You help them get out of that pit, to rise up from this, because they have a defect. That which is of bad character, that which harms her husband, that which mistreats her children, that which arrives late, that which breaks her commitments, that which steals, that is wrong. So you have a responsibility as a believer to help him out of wrongdoing. Let's return to how the Prophet of Islam was treated, the most benign, kindest, most merciful, and most tolerant man. The Holy Quran admires the tolerance of the Prophet of Islam. The Prophet of Islam possesses tolerance, forgiving those who mistreat him and those who do wrong. But later, the Prophet of Islam, with much affection and love, has a plan to purify that person. He has a plan to teach him what is right and what is wrong. And all of this is done with a kind tongue, without destroying his personality, without reproaching him. When I hate someone, I am angry with my wife, I am irritated, I cannot forgive them, I cannot tolerate what they have done. So I seek revenge. I do not seek to correct her. I do not seek to help her reach her perfection. I seek how to take revenge on her, because she harmed me, she irritated me, she disrespected me, she did not give me what was mine. So I want to take revenge. Islam says, forgive him, tolerance, forgive her, forgive your wife, forgive your friend, forgive her, forgive her, forgive her, forgive her. Remove grudges from your heart. Remove resentments from your heart. Forget it. It doesn't matter. Then you let it go. But there, God gives you a responsibility. It is a human being. It is your neighbor. You must help him to reach perfection. If he has a bad tongue, help him. Teach him in a loving, kind way. Teach your son that he should not commit that sin again. Teach your wife that this is wrong. If you are chatting with other men, that will have serious consequences. That is not right. So you need to seek guidance. First, you need wisdom. For example, you want to talk to your wife so that she doesn't chat with strange men. You have to go look for information. There are many places, many articles, and many videos where the Sheikh talks about the consequences of sin. So you need to do your research. You should be well informed. Why should you be well informed? When there is a rule, it states a rule of 10%. The 10% rule. What does it mean? It says that for every 10 pieces of wisdom you know, you can share one. So, if I want to give 10 pieces of advice, I need to know 100 pieces of advice. Why is human nature like this? For example, to be a good teacher, I need to know 100 in order to convey 10. If I only know 10, I can only convey 1. Because you are not going to dominate all your information. Therefore, you need to be filled with wisdom in order to transmit wisdom. How many times more than what you want to convey? 10 times more. If you want to teach a book, you need to have read 10 books on the subject in order to teach that book well. That is the rule. It is called the 10% rule. You, in order to convey a concept to your wife, for example, need to know 10 times more than what you want to say in order to be able to communicate it very well. Then the first step is to forgive, to show tolerance, to hold no grudges in your heart, to love that person in order to correct them, and to understand that it is your responsibility. In the third step, go seek the solution to that problem. For example, we have this problem. For instance, my wife has a sharp tongue. How am I going to correct her? My wife yells at the children, which is wrong. She always gets irritated and yells at the children. That is very wrong. So, how can I correct her? You are going to study many articles, books, etc. Then you will fill yourself with that 10% rule. It means 10 times more than what you want to convey. Now it is our turn to correct, for example, my wife, my child. At the moment of correction, we say, here comes the sandwich law. When making a sandwich, they will put the bread, a lot of salad, a little bit of meat, and the sauce. This means that the meat alone is not that tasty. That is to say, the meat, the snack, the sandwich. The most important thing is that meat. I hope it is halal meat. We are not talking about haram meat. So we say the sandwich rule. The sandwich rule says you have to add flavor to the criticism. You need to add flavor to what you want to correct in the person. So, that law also states that it is better for more than half to be good and less than a third to be a little bitter. Because all people understand that you want to correct them. And I, for example, don't like feeling defective, and you want to correct me. No one likes that. So that law states that you can put 20% bitter and 80% sweet. What is sweet? Everyone loves to hear about its advantages and virtues. To each person, you love that we are going to say to you, you are a respectful man, you are this kind of man, you have done this for me, we want to thank you, you are a brave man, you have done that for me, talking about the favors you have done for me. Those are sweet, tasty things. Everyone loves to sit down and have everyone admire them. I love it, you love it, everyone loves it, because each one of us loves our being. Because we love our being, we enjoy it when people speak well of us. For example, when I see a message from someone saying, Sheikh, we are very grateful for what you have done. And I say, oh, I love it. Oh, how nice. And when a person says, you are useless, you don't know how to speak, and it already bothers me. It bothers you too. If they are going to call you stupid, if you don't know how to speak, it bothers you. Do you understand? So we say, according to that law, that we say the bitter thing when at least better. Correction should be minimal at best, and it should be mixed with the sandwich law so that the person does not resist. If you want to talk to your wife and tell her that, for example, speaking badly to the children or insulting them is wrong, first, you always have to speak good things about her. You are a beautiful woman. You are this. You have done this for me. This. Speaking very, 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 very well. That means we are already putting 80% of the sandwich together. Now the sandwich is prepared to put the hamburger inside. Now, in a very subtle way, do not provoke by starting in an indirect way, without destroying their personality. Once we say, you are a person with a bad tongue. Yes, that is wrong. But once we say, look, darling, you are so good that honestly, I see nothing wrong in you. But, as a suggestion, perhaps being very indirect is better, very indirect. With a suggestion, let me say that what worries me is that nowadays we live in a society where people are very gossipy. I want you to help me, just like asking for help, just like asking for help. Help me see how we can make it, so that in our life, you will share it. You will share the flaw with that person. How are we going to be in our lives that, in our home, we do not hear any vulgarities? I want your advice. We are asking the person, the criminal, for advice, for her self-correction. How can we make it so that we don't hear insults in our lives? Let's see. You who are a wise, beautiful, and kind woman, how could you help me? Look, we are asking for help. We have not destroyed their personality. We have not told them that they are a loudmouth, that they are shameless. We have not said that. Because generally when we release negative emotions, we destroy the person in front of us. For example, when you are angry, when you start talking to your wife, you say, you are a pig, you are the worst. And it's just that, what a pity that I married you. I wish I had married Juana or Mariana or anyone else and never see you again, never get to know you. It's a shame, a disgrace to have such a loud woman in the house. Just like that. So, what do you think your wife would react? How would your wife react? Of course, very badly. She gets upset. She gets upset. You would also get upset if someone speaks badly to you. That is not the correct way to correct a person. With your child, with your teacher, with your employee, with your boss, with anyone, you must adhere to these laws. So the sandwich law says 20% bitter, 80% of the good thing. The bitter part doesn't have to be direct. It shouldn't destroy your personality. You have to do it in a way, in a request, in an indirect way, asking for advice. It's like, are you giving him advice? But you are speaking as if you are asking for advice. And in the end, you say, what do you think? You have to reach that point. If she asks you, what do you think? Then, here the class begins. I have seen in an article that says these things. I don't know if it's true. What do you think? Just as long as you respect your wife's opinion. Then, you will reach a point, it will be very interesting. It works, without a doubt. It always works. It always works. Well, many times I have also used that tactic. It works perfectly. That is called active tolerance. So what Islam teaches us is active tolerance. What is the limitation of that tolerance? Because we always want to correct people, there are no limitations. In everything, we must have active tolerance. May God bless you. I hope we have been able to explain it with that clarity. My poorly spoken words, this concept, a strong hug.